Happy February, Mess Hall friends. I decided to change it up, and this month's book and meeting were chosen and hosted by GENDRED. Left in his capable hands, we read The Three-Body Problem by Liu Cixin. This book has been sitting on my shelf for ages, intimidating me for years. However, once I read the first chapter in earnest, I finished the book in a week, and even bought the second. Come and listen to the discourse on Spotify or watch the meeting we had on YouTube.
We are live. We are live. All right, Annie, do you want to start us off with our usual intro?
Yeah, let me mute this. Hello, welcome to book club episode 6. Is this 6? Have we been doing this for 6 months now?
How many
Or is
Warhammers?
it 5?
3 Warhammers.
4.
Four
Four
Warhammers.
Warhammers?
I think this is
Warhammers.
book 5.
Well, then this is 6. This is 6 because we did
What do
we did Neuromancer.
Neuromancer.
Now
Neuromancer.
Everybody.
Yep. This is 6.
Welcome to the Mess Hall Hangout episode 6, y'all.
Half of a non-baker's dozen.
Wow, we made it. You'll notice today we're a little bit short, but we have read The Three-Body Problem is February's book, and I'm here with Squandy, myself, and GENDRED. And I will be doing coloring, and GENDRED will be leading us.
The hand show is on.
Yep. Give me just a moment to get my agenda pulled up. Anybody else,
No
get a
feet,
chance-
just hands.
Anybody else get a chance
Oh,
to look
no.
at the agenda?
You gotta pay for that. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
If
I have
anyone
looked
would
at the
like
agenda.
to donate for feet, just kidding. We won't get into that here right now.
PayPal.Annie.
You can find me at.
Only if you-
Donations are appreciated, not expected.
I think she's expecting.
I'm not e-begging. It's a business exchange.
If you have any questions, you can reach my manager, Aaron Squandy, at aaronsquandy.com.
Nice.
I'm like a dragon, and your feet pics are the gold that I.
You've hoarded them? Jesus Christ. All right.
Oh my
well,
God.
that's an
Anyway.
intro.
We're really kicking it off this week.
All right. So on to the first question from the agenda. Has everyone read the book before? I know I have. Wandy, had you read it before? Nope. Annie?
Negative.
No.
Hi
it's
there,
been-
mister.
I know I've mentioned this numerous times. It's been recommended to me by my mom for about like 3 or 4 years now.
Mm-hmm.
I found it in my basement, and yeah, I've been holding on to it for so long. Super glad I read it though, but I was really intimidated because the first few pages is just that list of characters.
Oh, yeah.
And so that really intimidated me. So that's why I put it off, because I was like, oh, it's like homework and I have to remember all their names. Not really in the mood to do that right now. But since it was picked for this week, and I'm like, okay, well, we're all going to kind of dive into this together. I gave it another go, and like, it was really great. I tore through it, honestly.
So,
Same.
so after getting into it, did like the character names weren't so ominous or onerous?
Yes. Yeah. And it, my mom is very old school, and so she ended up making a fax copy of the names as like a bookmark.
Oh.
So as I'm reading the book, I have this little bookmark with all of the names. So yeah.
Thanks, Mom.
Yeah, thanks, Mom. But yeah, so it took me, I don't know, less than a week.
Yeah,
How long
you
did it
went
take
through it
everyone
real
else?
quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, you read it way faster. For me, it was like 3 weeks. I took a little bit more time.
That's what I had to do with Neuromancer. But yeah, But I mean, each week we're going to be reading a book that maybe some of us really vibe with more than others.
Month.
Month, sorry, each week.
I mean, if we want to kick up the cadence a little, I'm not opposed, but that's a little much.
That's a lot.
Dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm reading this textbook about electricity. I'm like, that would be hard for me because I read.
I got a new book that I'm slowly mowing through as well. So yeah, I don't know that I could do a book a week right now.
No. Because I pick up a different book when there's downtime between the book club, then I do my personal book, and if I haven't finished it, so like I keep picking it up in between these books. But
Talk more about that at the end because I want to know what you've been reading.
Sure.
And obviously, I had actually listened to this book once before. I don't remember where I got it from. I think it was like free through Audible or something at one point. And so I'd listened to it through there last year, and then this year I couldn't find it on my Audible account, but I found it for free on like archive.org. So I just pulled it down from there and linked everybody to that. And that was great. I like the audiobook version because I don't think I could pronounce these names properly if I just read them.
Oh, yeah. That was a thing where I was like, I'm probably mispronouncing them in my head.
I would have.
We'll see.
What was the part you had the most difficult in reading the book? Like, there's a lot to it. So, like, did you have any difficulties reading it? Obviously, Andy, you went through it really quickly. Did you find anything, I guess, like you had to go back and reread, or was there any things that...
The parts that I kind of had trouble understanding and I would reread is like when we were in the Trisolarians' perspective, and they were talking about their little nanotechnology and how they had to like keep shrinking their, I want to say AI, but it's not really AI, but like they kept trying to shrink and make that little, I forgot what they named it. See, now because I read it so fast, I forgot to take like good notes. But it was like the technology where it would show the main character the countdown in his eyes. So I had a little bit of trouble getting through that part because I was like, it's so scientific and sometimes my brain doesn't work like that.
Yeah, that part was kind of wild. Like, I guess we'll get to the rest of it, but given how far away they are, the fact that they were able to shoot like those devices shrunk down accurately at the planet and like let them just cause chaos, that was a lot for sure.
That whole exchange was intense, and then it's like as I was reading it, like all the pieces fell together and I was like brain blast, this is why all of these scientists are dying, and it all makes sense. But the pacing of it was fantastic because like we didn't find out until the end really about why these scientists were dying. So it was like a complete crazy mystery, and you're like, oh, this could be literally anything. Nope, it was the aliens.
What about you, Squan?
But that was the only difficult part.
Kind of relatively the same. In not really difficulty reading it. I think it's like so well written for something so like I can't think of the word, but something so big that some of the ideas like shooting the nano material in so accurately and stuff is kind of like some parts I had difficulty stretching my imagination to fit this alien civilization that he's, that they've created in the book. But it's still really enjoyable, and it still all works really well. It's just like sometimes it was kind of hard to wrap my head around because it's so grounded. It's not supposed to be fantastical, even though it's like really fantastic and sci-fi. You know what I mean? So that's my only difficulty that I had. Not really like reading it though. It's such a good book as far as like prose. Like the author is so beautiful at writing these things that flow and are complicated, but you can wrap your head around, kind of like Neuromancer, but like if it was digestible, you know.
Yep. It's there's a lot of jargon in it, but it's done very well and explained very well. Like a lot of it, I feel it's almost like if what's that really personable scientific guy on TV? He's like,
Neil deGrasse, or
yeah, it'd be like, I feel like it's what if he wrote science fiction, it would be very like consumable.
Easy to read for the masses.
yeah.
Yeah.
He kind of did I don't know if you know the Stephen Hawking. He wrote a physics book for people who don't know physics, and
Really?
Neil deGrasse Tyson did one for astrophysics. It's like astrophysics for people who are in a hurry. And it's very
That's kind of awesome.
That's me.
yeah.
IV8, IKB.
Yay!
VA. Here in spirit. And
For
on
me,
mind.
I think I struggled with I struggled with a lot of the violence in certain parts of it.
I was
Just
like
because, like,
the beginning really sets it off.
yeah, I mean the beginning, like, understand. I I didn't go through the actual Cultural Revolution in China, so I don't know anything about that. It's obviously a very traumatic time. There's a lot going on, and it was very interesting to me that like her father very much wanted to like still reason with these people who were beating him, like it was, and then how her mentor had killed themselves, like, and it's just like there's so much violence in that first couple chapters, but it, like, I feel like there's this theme throughout the whole book of violence, just like, and it's like an undercurrent when it's not in your face. Like when what's his name, when Wang went to go talk to like his associate, like his friend or whatever, and she said that this other person had been threatening like her husband or whatever, and then they come back later and he murdered her. It's like, what? like what the hell's going on here? It's like some of it just seems, I don't know, pointless.
That
Maybe
one to me
that's
seemed a little
Pointless?
out there.
Yeah.
But I think that was like the only one that I was like, that was kind of random.
Well, I think that was to show, like, I was thinking about this today as I was writing the agenda. I think that particular one was to sort of emphasize the what's the word? There's the two factions within, like, the American Trisolarian whatever organization, not American, Earth.
Oh yeah.
ETO. And like, so I think that was to sort of emphasize like the crazy side, how fanatical they were.
extremists.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like they were willing to like, okay, so we know the aliens were willing to kill American or not American. I keep saying American, human scientists. But like to actually see a human kill another human scientist, like that sort of like ratcheted it up a level. And so
Yeah.
I don't know, that the violence was hard for me.
It's something like and like our generations like didn't haven't experienced to like the lengths that like China has. Like China's history is insane. And like the amount of stuff that they have to like deal with is something that like I've never, nor do I want to experience that here. And like we've been very lucky in not having to see that in, I want to say like in real life. And yes, we do see it on TV, but that's very different than like the main character actually being at her father's execution.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah,
that's wild.
I think it's something that like the whole first part is it's not really meant to like be identifiable, I think, you know. Like I think it's supposed to really carve out this character that's unique, and you're not supposed to be, because it's not something that a lot of people have gone through, like, oh, I mean, V8's joking where like I can identify with that and whatever, but like to be able to identify with Ye and like, you know, what she went through is like I don't think it's supposed to be relatable, you know. It's so extreme and crazy, and it's such an interesting way to start a book like this, especially knowing where it goes. But before I knew where it was going, just as a blind read, because I didn't read the synopsis. I mean, I read your synopsis, I think, but I don't really
But
remember
not like the
it.
full.
Yeah.
I was just like, GENDRED likes this. It's sci-fi, three-body problem. I want to
Sure.
know. I just wanted to know what the title meant. you know?
Yes.
Right.
But
Yeah.
that first chapter was like, where the heck is this thing going? This is bananas. And I was shocked.
When I first picked it up, like several people had recommended it. Like Casual Elephant is a huge fan of this book, this series of books. And so I thought, just based on the name alone originally, because I didn't know anything about it either, I thought it was like post-humanism. I thought it was like altered carbon where people can change bodies or something like that. I wasn't clear either. And so like getting into it,
Yeah.
like as soon as you get into like the video game part of it, like, okay, you kind of start to understand that it's something else. But
I
yeah,
definitely was on the path of like people body, not like celestial body.
Definitely.
yes,
I thought it
yeah.
was human body at first.
Yeah. So then when we learn about the game, and the game is this also like reminds me of Ender's Game, because I'm like, oh, like the game is real. I was like, oh my god, this is crazy. I didn't not once did I ever think that it was a celestial body.
Well, and what interests me is like, you know, there's the two factions, right? The two factions of the ETO, and what's her name? The husband of the woman who got murdered, he solved the three-body problem. Like, that's pretty early in the book, like chapter 4 or 5 or something like that. Like he had already solved it.
He's the lazy mathematician, right?
Yeah. But like the extremists are like don't want him to give the answer to the Trisolarans. Like he's like, he figured it out. And so I find that part very frustrating. Like, not that, you know, I think, you know, as we know later on, the Trisolarans are headed our way, right? But like, wouldn't they still want to solve the three-body problem and like know how to predict the sun movement around their own planet? Like, that still seems like something that would be valuable to them.
It was
I don't know.
all so like, it's the three-body problem is such a chaotic like scientific thing that it's still like hard for me to like wrap my head around it. But then it's also, they're like, nobody can solve the problem and we have to make sure nobody will, so then we're gonna use all of our energy into creating this technology that will make all the scientists kill themselves.
No, I don't think that was that. So the scientists killing themselves was sorry. I'm not trying to argue. I think
No.
that was more to prevent us, Earth, from creating weapons that could defend us.
Destroy the Trisolarans.
Right. Right. So Wang is a nano, technology
Scientist,
expert himself,
yeah.
right? And he was making that like nano thread that could just cut through a car,
Right.
so they specifically targeted him because he was making technology that would have like made it difficult for them. Like, I think that was their thought in the bots. I don't think they were targeting people who might solve the problem for them as much as like trying to just make sure that we couldn't defend ourselves.
Making it so they could actually make it to Earth we don't even know. Like, are they going to destroy us, or are we going to live in harmony?
Well, so even within the two factions of ETO, there's people who want to live in harmony with Trisolarans, and then there's people who just want to just give them our planet because they don't think humanity deserves it.
Right.
And that's wild. But obviously, like, I think early on, when Xia, the main character, like, I guess she was the main character for parts of the book. I think Wang is the main character for other parts. When Xia actually, she starts off as someone who just doesn't care about humanity. And I think a lot of that obviously is going through, the first few chapters, seeing her father killed, her mother took part in that, her sister turning the whole family in, whatever, like, she just feels like even her own family was, like, terrible. And so she just has no respect for humanity. But I think having a daughter and, like, later, experiencing more of life, I think later on, she obviously changed sides in the factions and wanted to, like, she doesn't appear to regret sending a message to the Trisolarans. It's more that she probably wants to live in harmony with them more than, have them just kill everybody. She seems genuinely upset.
When she sent the message, though, it was
Yeah.
with the intent for them to come and destroy us.
1000%.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. But, like, I think later on, she was part of the group that helped to, like, spread the three-body problem game, like, to help try and solve the problem.
That was her great arc, is that she comes. That's why the beginning is so fucking, like, it's horrible, but it's so awesome. Because it starts her at this place that is so polar opposite to where she ends, and you see, you get to, you don't really go along with her on the ride, which I think is really interesting, because we kind of just pick up on her at certain points on her arc, and you kind of get to see her grow in little increments, and it's I think it's genius, and it's so well done, and her character is so great, because you kind of, like, I really didn't like her when she wanted to destroy her. Like, I was like, when they get the message back of, like, hey, please don't send another message. If you do, they're gonna get it and we're gonna fucking kill you. And I was like, oh god, that's crazy. And then to find out she sent another one, it was like, that was a big twist. I think that was a big like, what the heck? She actually did that, and then her motives and stuff, it's like, I think that was my favorite part, is that whole chapter where they get the message back and she sends another one. I think on the TV show, that's going to be a cliffhanger episode, for sure.
Yeah, I agree. And I think the only reason, like, the arc actually works for me is because you can see that, like, she's saddened later by the fact that her daughter has been killed by, like, these nanobots or whatever, telling her, convincing her that
she's crazy.
Physics isn't real and all that shit. It's like, she says something like, I thought she would be stronger or something like that. She thought because she was a woman, she thought her daughter would be stronger than that. It's like, you let the cat out of the bag.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
So, did anybody have any trouble with the character names? Obviously, I'm sure your bookmark helped a lot, Annie. I still struggle with them. Obviously, y'all know how bad I am with names and words already. So this was definitely difficult for me.
Absolutely. Yep.
The bookmark definitely helped because as I'm going along, I'm using the bookmark. So it's with me like on each page.
I wish I'd had
So
that.
it got a
Too.
little bit less confusing. And so I know it's a hot debate within our little group of like audiobooks or physical reading because like I'm very like for me personally physically reading is a lot more helpful, but I know for some of you guys it's not, and listening is a lot more helpful.
Yeah, I think it's because I'm so busy a lot of the time that like I can listen while I'm running errands or I can listen while I'm out walking. So for me, like, it allows me to fit in more reading, quote unquote, time.
Right. So for me, yeah, it definitely helped having it physically in front of me with this kind of book because it's so it's heavy, but in a different way. Like Neuromancer was heavy, but like this one was also pretty heavy in the science-y aspect. But I really enjoyed our main female character's journey because you see her absolutely beaten down to the point where she's gonna sacrifice all of humanity to then maybe not but
Yeah, we really
then
don't know.
No, that's it. There's two more
it's still a
books, right?
mystery. Yeah,
So
it's still a mystery. I think she's such a great character.
I do too.
I also
know.
really enjoy the nanoscientist.
Wang Miao.
Yeah, I thought he's pretty cool. And how I really enjoyed when he was starting to see the countdown. And then
He's taking the
was doing
photos
the science experiment, and then he was like, well, if I'm seeing this countdown, like my wife needs to, she's probably seeing it too, but then on her images there's nothing. And I was like, that I ate up because I was like, what is happening? I need to know why and why it's just him. And then that other scientist where she's like, just stop your experiment. Just stop. And he's like, but I can't. I cannot
Right.
stop my experiment. But then he does, and then the countdown disappears. And then you're like, why?
Well,
It's crazy.
I really liked the humanity of that character because, like you were talking about, he was taking photos and he saw the countdown, and he describes at one point like he wanted his wife and child to take some photos to see what their photos looked like, but he was very clear he didn't want his wife to take any photos of his child because he was afraid to see
Right.
the numbers show up on his child's face. Like,
Right.
that was a very surreal thought.
Yeah.
That's scary too. Yeah. Like this whole thing, just the way that it was portrayed, I just love it. I love all of it.
What about
And I was so sad at the end because I'm like, you want conclusion. And so in the end, I was just like, are they here yet? What's happening? What are they going to do to us? And then it's like, nope, just kidding. You have to read more.
Yeah,
But
I
that's
think there's a lot that can happen in 400 years, so not really clear. I'm excited to see. Like, I haven't read the other books yet. I want to now.
I do also like that it's like not one of those books where it's like the travel is instantaneous and they're here right now. And it only took one chapter. Like,
Yeah, I struggled like with the technology aspect because they're so far away and they were able to shoot these like nano machines at us and get them here, but they're still going to take 400 years to get here. Like, one, with their crazy, world situation and these like, harsh and good periods, like how do they have like the technology to build these machines? Like, because it seems like every civilization has to start over to some degree. And I don't know.
Yeah, I had a question about that. Do the Trisolarians actually hydrate and dehydrate, or is that only in the video game?
I think they actually do.
Yeah, I thought that was like,
That's
'cause I
that. I
thought
don't
the
like that
whole-
part.
I thought the whole game was like real life, like their real life, you know? But then to make it palatable for us, they had
Realistic,
to
yeah.
fill in the gaps with like historians and like pieces of our history.
Yeah, they evolved through human history as opposed to Trisolarian history.
Yeah. But I
their
think
history
the
wouldn't make
whole
any
thing
sense to
was
us.
still real. And that the dehydration thing is weird.
Yeah.
But like
Very
an
weird.
interesting thought.
Yeah, I don't know any other way to do that because it makes sense, but I just don't like the concept of it. I don't know, it just doesn't vibe with me.
It's
the
too
other thing-
1980s horror movie.
Yeah, kinda, because I imagine them like little leather T-pose, like,
Yeah.
and they get hung up on like dry cleaning racks, and then
Just the little
some
clips.
Aztec king is like, rehydrate, and it's just like, oh, this is like a Cartoon Network show or something.
Right?
But
Oh my god.
the only other thing that I just didn't vibe with is interacting with these famous people throughout history during each iteration of like, it was like Bill and Ted to me. It just came off
Yeah.
like kind of corny, of like, it's me, Einstein, and I'm here to help you with this problem. And it's like, this is kind of taking me out. But yeah,
I can see
But
that.
those are the
gotta
only
keep
two
reading.
things. Yeah, it didn't like ruin it by any means. It's like I just personally didn't
Yeah.
vibe with those concepts.
What did you think of the whole like human computer when they
Oh,
one
yeah.
of the Chinese dynasty eras, and they had like 300,000 people like raising flags and that whole like a
Fucking crazy.
legit human computer, and I was like, this is insane.
Yeah. I wonder how high up you would have to be to see that. That's what I was wondering, because it literally would have to be so many different, like, how many people did they say it was? Like,
I don't remember.
Was it millions or was it like thousands?
I don't know. It was a lot.
It was a lot.
it was a lot of people. And I get the concept, it's binary and you can transfer binary to these whatever and to these people and the flags. And, I've seen people make like working computers in Minecraft.
Same idea.
It's the same idea. So, it's not like I could wrap my head around that. It was a really interesting idea. I think it was like the time period that happened. But it did. That's why they bring in the historical figures that like came up with computing and like at a before we had computers and all that. I thought it was overall good, but also one of those things that I was like, it just doesn't fully mesh with me. But it didn't take me out as much as the dehydrating and just like historical figures, Bill and Ted style.
What did you think of Shi Kwang, the detective?
the brash detective.
Yeah.
Very brash.
Yeah,
I
like
I feel like he was kind of a nice refresher. Kind of like, I don't know, bringing us back down to reality in certain times. Because
Sure.
of his use of language, I think, ultimately.
hi Kiki.
Sure.
Like,
Hey,
he's
Kiki.
keeping it real.
Yeah, I liked how originally he was like very standoffish. He was like, "We don't need another egghead. Whatever, get that guy out of here." And then like he starts to come around, and like he's been
He's actually
following
not.
Wang.
Yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
He was following Wang, and like Wang actually found it to be like very comforting to know that somebody was like keeping track of him because he felt like he was going crazy at one point. It was it was definitely a very, like you said, a very grounding point.
And where you think, like, because he's surrounded by all of these smart scientists and higher up military, and he's just a lowly detective or police officer, but he's actually very smart because, like,
Sure.
a lot of his ideas, he doesn't think so complex. And so his ideas are very, like, I don't want to say he's not stupid, but they're very like surface level, very like normal. And
ACAB.
so like when he comes up with like certain theories that the nanoscientist follows, like it makes sense to me because I'm like, oh, this is just a normal guy spitting out a normal reaction versus something like super in-depth sciencey.
Yeah.
So I really
Well-
appreciated that because I'm like, I'm not very science smart.
Every movie, TV show, book that goes into things like this very heavily scientific, you can lose you can lose the audience like that. You know, some people, and it's always useful to have a character that will speak for the audience and or the reader. And I think that was that character, to like, you need someone to ask the question that you assume the reader or the audience is going to ask, and it's, I think that's what that character was good at, and that's what the purpose was, because you're right, like whenever you know whenever he chimed in, it was always for that sake of like, I had that interjection as well, and I'm glad that you answered that question.
Because where it's like, it's a question, he would bring up just things that you were like, oh, did anybody think to ask this? But these scientists think so far beyond just like black and white
Yeah.
that a lot of stuff gets missed. But we have our trusty police officer who I just love his language, and he swears all the time, and
Yeah, he's almost
He's
like
great.
a Columbo, very much.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly. He's a Date-san from Yakuza.
Date-san.
Date-san.
Nani?
Honey? All right. So, were there any other themes you saw in the book? We talked about the brutality and the violence earlier. Was there anything else you sort of noticed throughout the book? Want to start this time, Squatty?
No. I'm kind of, I think the theme, I don't know.
That's fine.
It's such an interesting, like the way it starts with a bang, and it starts with like hating humanity, hating where you come from, like really disliking your origin story, to okay, maybe we're not that bad, we're all just human. Maybe I shouldn't have reached out to the aliens to destroy me.
Is it like a reactionary caution, like a reactionary
cautionary tale?
tale?
Yeah.
Like,
I could see it, yeah. It's just so like this. Is this book trying to get me to love myself more? See that I have more worth that I don't, that, you know, humanity, or maybe it just poses the question, like, is humanity worth saving if something like this happens? And didn't the government already admit that aliens are real?
Yeah, no,
Okay.
they did.
Thing.
Yeah.
So we have yay. Is it yay? Is that how we're saying it?
Yeah,
Ye.
wins. Yeah.
Yay.
Yeah, wins. Yeah.
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 Yeah. Her father, her daughter,
Right.
right?
Right.
Yeah.
Her father dies. She becomes radicalized, anti-human, like the most extreme radicalized you could be.
Mm-hmm.
Then changes her opinion after her daughter, right? Are they the three-body problem?
Dad, daughter, granddaughter.
You know, maybe it's got two meanings, and maybe it's like about, you know, not necessarily like forgiveness, but like processing tragedy and
Generational trauma.
maybe. Mm.
Got me
You're welcome.
thinking. Generational trauma, because she definitely had a very traumatic experience.
Yeah.
But so
Yeah.
she is our central character. She is our, I guess in this aspect, she is our anchor.
I think so, yeah.
Everyone around her, her parents, have died. She's lost a child. She is the common denominator and remains.
It's not only like I want to point out though, it's not only that like the brutality of her parents dying or her dad dying and then her sister dying and all that shit. Like she just continually gets shit on by humanity.
Yes.
They're like even when she goes to like the logging camp, right? And that reporter, I think his name was
Throws her right under the bus.
Bai Mulin. Yeah, well, so he gave her that book, Silent Spring by Rachel Carson. That's a real book, by the way. He gave her that book to read, and she obviously like took to it and agreed with it. Like, you know, I think that book combined with Bai Mulin like very selfishly saving his own skin and throwing her under the bus. Like I think the book says he didn't set out to like do that to her. It just happened because he got caught. Right? But like it just continued to feed into her thought process that humanity sucks. Right? But that was still very much on that downward spiral to, you know, sending the message back that says, nope, come on over, you know?
So, I don't know, this just like popped in my head of like her entire life, she's been shat on. And so the only glimmer of hope that she sees was when she made successfully first contact with the aliens. Like that's her only like good thing that's happened to her in all of these years. But then she still ends up changing her mind, you know?
Well, so she has a daughter, I think with one of the other scientists from
one of the two guys who saved her, or
Red
who rescued her from the
yeah.
logging camp.
What's it called? Red something?
Red Coast.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Red Coast.
Red
Yeah, so she has a child with somebody from Red Coast, but she ends up later, I think, after sending the message, killing him, her child's father, and the other scientist, right? To sort of like cover up that she sent the message.
That was a really interesting scene because she only set out to kill the one who wasn't her husband.
Right.
But then her husband comes and finds her, but he doesn't know what she's doing. Like, he didn't know that she like was cutting the rope. So then
Right.
she's like, she like accidentally has to kill him too then, which I don't think she ever really wanted to.
Nope.
So then both end up dying, but I thought that was a really interesting scene in the book too, because it's like, oh fuck, well now
Yeah.
my husband's here, now I have to kill him too, even though I don't really want to.
Yeah, but like, that just shows how far down the rabbit hole she'd already gone, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's
Yeah,
I don't know.
she gone.
She's
gone.
Alice.
She gone.
So
But yes.
what other parts like I put in a themes question because I was curious if anybody saw any other themes. I struggled to find more themes throughout the book as well. I'm sure they're there, but like I think just the violence of humanity was there. I did like the recurring aspect of photography in because Wang is a photographer, right? We see like picture like the author describes a lot of pictures whenever like he's visiting when she has home and to see her daughter's room. Like I think photography or photos play a big part of the book, especially like one of the reasons why Wang even agreed to go join the ETO was because like he had sort of fallen in love with a scientist and then found out she had committed suicide like not too long ago, and it sort of just like struck him hard. And he was describing how like his photos like that he had taken during the time he had known her, like he used to like to imagine her in them, and it really added something, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's one of my favorite things about his character is like his form of relaxation is going out in like early in the morning, nobody's around, and just existing, taking pictures. And I was like, that's so calming and really like peaceful. And that's his little like pocket of peace.
Yeah.
And I was like, that resonates with me. But yeah, there's so much jam-packed into this book that I almost like, I need somebody to tell me, like what to think. But because there's so many themes, like there could be so many themes, but it's like, it's art, and art is always open to interpretation, and it's what you feel like. Ugh. Tell me what I'm supposed to feel and what themes I'm supposed to take away, please.
Themes are one of the hardest things for me because sometimes they're pretty objective and sometimes they're very like arbitrary, and like maybe that's a theme for you, like you're saying, Annie, art's subjective. Sometimes there's objective, like of course obviously this is a theme, and it's just such a hard thing for me. It's something that I struggled with, and it's something that I wish that I got good at in college, because it's one of my favorite things to learn about and to read. I love watching video essays about movies and books and stuff where they go over theme, and it's like one of my favorite parts of that, those kind of things. So, but it's so hard for me. That's why I hated that you went to me for the theme question. I'm
Called
so
you out. I like though that it's making, like, it makes you think like what's worth saving and like what's worth giving up. What would you give up,
How far would you go?
Yeah, how far would you go?
Like, what's the tagline? Is there even a tagline? I don't think there is.
I don't think there is. I mean, so it's the other thing that is worth pointing out is this is obviously originally a Chinese book. I think it's the first book to be translated to English that won a Hugo Award.
Yeah.
That's a pretty big accomplishment. It just like the fact that there are themes throughout it. There's like themes of technology and progress, like the nanowire that Wang is creating. The Yuan Xia, like her discovery, and like she wrote a paper about like part of the sun and radio waves, and like that's what got her to Red Coast. Like somebody read her paper, and then
Because of the radio waves, yeah.
and then like there's all the the virtual reality interface of the three-body game is very much a big piece of technology. There's technology is a major theme in the book. What did Kiki say?
Yeah.
The book's set up by a very intellectual discourse of what's moral when survival of the entire civilization is the number one pressing issue. Well, I struggle with that particular phrasing because, like, I don't think more morality was at play because she'd already made the decision. She already sent the message. So the survival of the entire civilization is like already at that point. I think what we're seeing in the book is like how humanity reacts to an unknown threat.
Because it's objectively wrong for her to have sent the message back.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Like it's morally bad to
Yeah.
do that.
Yeah.
And the Trisolarian said so. He said, "Don't."
Yeah.
He even told her,
think
"Don't
like
send me a
don't
message
do
from
back."
his point
Yeah.
of view, like he gave up his life to send
Yeah.
that message.
Mm-hmm.
He was like, I'm gonna send this and save another world.
Yeah, because he knows
Knowing-
they're gonna just come in and destroy it.
Yeah, yeah. And he knew they would kill him.
Shit.
He knew they would
They
kill
probably
him.
did too, right?
Oh yeah.
Because they
1000%. 1000%.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
I
he's
thought
out for sure.
Yeah.
They're like, you fucking warned? Oh god.
You're dead.
And that just makes humanity look bad.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But so like the whole 80% of the book is we don't know who's coming, what's happening, but it's already being perceived at every angle as like something negative, something bad, impending doom is happening.
Well,
So like already in the book we're prepped to imagine the worst of the Trisolarians.
yep. Well,
Like there is no good in alien contact. There is no good in finding extraterrestrial beings, I guess,
Right.
is where I'm feeling like I'm being prepped into thinking already it's bad. Like, isn't it literally they're like, we're preparing for war?
oh yeah. 1000%. I mean, they're killing our scientists to keep us from being able to defend ourselves.
And we're preparing for war against them. There is nobody sees any sort of positive anything in making contact with this alien race. And
I
like
mean-
I get it.
I would say the ETO sees the positive in that this other race who's living on a planet who's pretty much fucked can come live on our planet and not have that problem. Like that's the one positive like that I think anybody sees out of it is they're gonna come kill us, and you know what? They won't ever have to dehydrate again.
They won't have to be all gross again.
Yep. They won't have to become living jerky ever again.
Human. There you go.
But
Yeah, also has to live with the fact, and I believe she reflects on this too, like at the end when she goes back to the tower or the red. Where is it? The Red Coast.
Coast.
The Red Coast, the first
Yeah.
one.
Yep.
You know, she's like basically talking about how like humanity is like forever changed, and it's her fault. Like
Oh yeah.
that's insane.
She
It's all
That's a
because of
lot.
you.
she personally is going to impact history. Not and she already has, right? But she's going to impact it even more so long after she's gone.
More than anyone in the history of the world.
Yep.
Like that's
She's
bananas.
now
It's a lot.
cemented in history.
I almost picture though like them showing up and then like War of the Worlds happens and they die from the flu or some shit.
Right. Right. I thought the locust thing was interesting too. That's an interesting comment.
Yes,
About,
I meant to mention that. Yes,
Yeah.
go ahead.
yeah. Just how like we've invented so many pesticides and stuff, but the locusts still survive, you know, and it's like a really interesting allegory, you
It was a
know.
very like strange version of optimism.
Exactly. Yeah.
I feel like this book throws in those little pieces, and at first you're like, what the fuck? But then as you digest it, you're like, okay, like I see what you did there, you know?
Yeah.
But I appreciate those little pieces where I'm just like, at first I really don't understand, but then my brain starts working and I'm like, I can get through.
What did you think of the video game, and would you play it if given the chance?
It just reminded me of Ender's Game. And I was like, that game seemed fun too.
True.
Just the dying part doesn't sound like, because if I'm wearing the bodysuit, do do I feel very briefly the sense of burning alive or like freezing to death? Like,
Well,
Or if you decide
yes,
to get dehydrated,
but-
what happens to you then?
so like there's at one point where like one of the characters in the game turns to Wang is like, you probably want to log off now. This isn't the fun part, or whatever.
right.
Like, so I think he feels some of the heat and cold, but I think he's like logged off.
logged out. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I was. Then probably, yeah, I would just log out before that, obviously.
Yeah.
But yeah, but also like, there's no shot I would be able to solve that problem.
Ditto.
Like,
Ditto.
you know, I'm not. I don't have the hubris to say that I should play that game. But would
No.
I? Yeah.
I picture it almost like Kiki said. I found some of the scientific aspects frustrating, and that the game is similar to Ender's Game. I was gonna say, I picture the three body problem almost like you know what folding at home is? Okay, so folding at home is this like program that's been around for many years, and you can run it on your personal computer. People used to run it on like PlayStations; they still probably do. It is a protein, like algorithmic, computational program, and you can essentially use spare CPU cycles to help science, right? And it's not that like your computer is going to solve the problem, it's that you're just contributing, right? And so I think of the three body problem almost in that regard, like we're not expected to all solve the problem. Somebody will. But if like all of us are playing it, we might be able to give enough input to where like a solution like avails itself.
We're like a piece of the puzzle
Right.
versus
It's
trying to
data.
solve the whole
It's-
puzzle.
exactly. It's just data.
Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting. I'm not smart enough to solve the whole puzzle. I'll gladly be a piece, but like,
But the
Yeah.
planet isn't the problem. The three suns are the problem.
Kiki says the title, for example, three body in this book refers to three suns and a planet, so it's really a four body problem. But yeah, it's like the positions of the three suns.
It's the problem is for the planet. So the planet isn't one of the bodies that's the problem.
And when the like
it's
I
the
liked
three suns.
I liked that aspect of like the game is like when they saw three, you know, three like shooting stars, they knew the suns were too far away, and it was an omen of like a cold time. And when they saw like a sun coming over the horizon that was way too big, they knew like it was about to be really hot. Like the extremes of the positions of the stars to the planet was just mind-boggling.
Yeah. And
Is there
it
really?
is a.
Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, is there really like no other planets or anything in that solar system? It just seems like such a crazy situation.
Yeah.
The universe is vast. Okay,
Where-
like anything can happen.
Where did they say it was? Was it Alpha Centauri, or did they just reference that?
I don't.
I thought
remember.
they just referenced Alpha Centauri.
I don't remember.
Because I remember they mentioned like, oh, Alpha Centauri is more than just one. It's like Alpha Centauri A and B and whatever. And I remember reading that before, so I thought that maybe I connected the two and thought that that's where it was. But it's a cool problem. I think the problem in general of this planet getting tossed between these suns is so neat scientifically to think about. I just think it's neat. That's all.
It is Alpha Centauri.
It is, okay.
It's something that like you don't think of because we're like a one sun planet. And
Yeah.
to think of like trying to find the pattern of three results in the chaotic era, the peaceful era. But then because of the three suns, it takes so long to create a pattern, you don't see it. Because maybe it hasn't even completed the first pattern yet.
Mm-hmm.
So
Right.
like who's gonna live long enough to figure out the pattern?
Nobody. Nobody.
Nobody.
Because
Right, yeah, like nobody.
the other issue being that like the suns each have their own gravity, and that they impact each other. Like so they cause each other to move on strange paths. That's the big reason why it's so hard to predict where they're gonna go.
How long is this chaotic era going to be? How long is this
Yeah.
peaceful era going to be? Like it's all so fucked up. And like the appeal to our planet, oh fantastic, there's just one sun. Like that's great. I'm gonna come and live there and I don't know, destroy your planet.
Yeah. It was kind of wild.
The appeal of Earth is definitely like, oh, I see it, you know?
Which we have definitely got it pretty well here.
Relative. It's all relative.
Oh, exactly. Yeah, I think it's one of those interesting cases where there's a I don't know, a theory. I don't know where I read this, but like to get all of humanity to unite in one cause would take something like an outside threat, something like this case to make every country cooperate. This
Yeah.
might be.
I agree.
This might be the one thing that actually makes the world a single thing.
I would still say might.
Might,
So
yeah.
the movie and short story Arrival that I mentioned before we started reading this, that you should watch, deals with that as well. And I think very realistically. And the movie Contact also kind of deals
Oh my
with that as
god, I
well.
love that movie.
Oh yeah. I love Contact.
So good. And I realize that this is more contacty than Arrival-y, but you should still watch it. But yeah, it is, you would hope, you would think that if we're all going to die, we should all come together. But like, probably not.
No, like
I would agree.
I know exactly
I'm a
what's going to
doomer.
happen, and we're all gonna, we're all gonna try to survive on our own, not together.
Does the author have a background in science?
Yes.
That's what I thought. Like, Carl Sagan wrote Contact, and you can really tell because it's like this is the most grounded way to have aliens contact us. Like they sent back the first radio transmission we ever did. Spoilers for Contact.
How old is that movie? Like,
It's so cool.
God, I love it so much.
And a linguist, linguistical artist, no, a linguist wrote Arrival, the short story that it's based on, and it's all about language and stuff, and it's so cool to see that aspect of it. And so I assume, they go into so much science stuff that you kind of just have to go like, I take your word for it.
I have to accept it. If I question it, my brain will explode.
Yeah.
So,
But it's so accurate. It's so detailed because the stuff that I do know, it's like, oh shit, I knew that. It's cool.
So the author is a Chinese computer engineer and science fiction writer. He was born in 1963 in Beijing. He was raised in the Yangquan Shanxi, where his parents had been sent to work in the mines. Due to the violence of the Cultural Revolution, he was sent to live in his ancestral home in Laoshan County. He graduated from the North China University of Water Conservancy and Electric Power in 1988. He then worked as a computer engineer at a power plant in Shanxi province.
So he's
Nine-time winner
smart.
of China's Galaxy Award, also received the 2015 Hugo Award, as well as the 2017 Locus Award for Death's End, which I think is the third book.
Oh wow.
Also the winner of the Chinese Nebula Award. Wow.
Prestigious.
Very.
But yeah, the science stuff, we talked about this already. There's a handful of it that is like a little mind stretchy, like you gotta, get a little ungrounded for this. But most of it is like, I'm planted, I'm on the ground, and this is cool as shit,
Give me more.
Wild. Which is why I like those types of sci-fi, that are less. That it's like Game of Thrones, where it's real life stories set in a fantasy setting. This is like a real story set in this sci-fi.
And there's so many references to real life publications and real life events and stuff. And so I thought that was cool too, because it helps you, even though this is a different universe, it still grounds you.
Because we never actually see Trisolaris.
No, that's going to be one of my questions. What do you think the
Technically,
Trisolaris
no,
look like?
right?
Yeah, because like what we see in the game is just Earth.
Yeah, humans.
It's just it's
Historical
humans.
figures. Yep.
Yeah. And that they go through the same process of like building pyramids and
Yep. Yeah, which obviously they didn't really do. It's like that's very much.
Yeah.
The game uses our history to tell their story, like you said.
Right. Yeah.
Do you think humanity could survive an invasion from?
No.
So I've listened to some physicists talk about this, like on podcasts and stuff, and I can't remember which one it was, but they said that like think about how genetically similar we are to apes, right? Like so similar. And then think about how mentally different we are from apes. Like we can do we can put men in space, and apes obviously are apes.
Apes
And yeah, like it's so drastically different what we're able to do, but we're so genetically similar. So imagine how a different species who has developed interstellar travel that we haven't yet. Imagine how much smarter they are than us,
yeah.
you know, and their intentions also. I think Carl Sagan was pretty set in this theory that their only intentions would be hostile. There would be no, hey, what's up? How are you? You know,
Yeah.
that
Nice to meet you.
it would most likely be hostile.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that if we met another species that was able to do that and to get to us first, that no, we wouldn't be able to survive technologically. They would have things that would just destroy us. We would have to get there first.
Yeah. We would have to be the aggressor.
Yeah, exactly. I think if
Like-
we're on our heels in an alien, there's no shot. We're done.
Yeah. We got to go all
The
Warhammer
only
on them.
way, the only way we'd survive is if we were the advanced ones, and I don't see that.
Not
I
with this
just don't see
story. Right. Yeah.
No. Yeah.
Our only
mean-
hope is showing them tentacle porn and hoping it works.
Well, the other thing that
You
I was
like?
thinking about here is that like 400 years is a long time. It is
Yeah.
a long time. If like I think somebody said like humans went from the Wright brothers to like jet engines in 40 years. Right? Like
Right.
something like that. Some crazy like that you think about that, that's an insane jump in technology. So in 400 years things could be very different. That's my only reason to think like we might have interstellar travel in 400 years. I don't know. Like,
But the question posed is, would we survive an invasion?
yes.
And I really do think that if we're the ones being greeted and we're on
Yeah.
our heels,
Yeah.
I don't think so.
No, I agree. I agree with that. It makes me think. There's this anime that I keep gushing about called Frieren, and if you haven't watched Frieren and you want to, please plug your ears now. But they're like essentially most of the anime like the antagonists are like the demon race, and Frieren has like this. The main character has this like philosophy of like, you just don't trust demons. You don't. They don't actually speak like English. They mimic us to like fool us, but they are not us, and they don't have emotions or anything like we do. And like you see that play out in a couple of episodes where these demons have like tried to parlay with a town. And really, it was just so they could get inside the town and, like, essentially, like, destroy the barrier so that they could take apart the town. But the demons, like, fake these human emotions to, like, get, people to treat them nicely. And it's so wild. As soon as they're, like, alone, you can see, like, the mask come off, and it's like, oh, shit. And that's what I think of. If, like, aliens showed up and tried to play nice, it's like, no. Like that they are literally just waiting for us to turn our backs and they will kill us. It's like
I don't see an outcome of
you ever
like
see
us
Species?
surviving.
Yeah.
Species
I think Species is a good example of how that would go. Annie added this question to the doc. There's a 3-body problem show airing March 21st, 2024, made by Netflix. Thoughts? Would you watch it? Yeah, I think I'll watch it.
I will. After reading the book, and then I'm kind of like read like the characters' names that pop up on like the cast list, and I was like, I don't know who these people are. So like now I'm like, oh, I should finish the series because maybe they're in the other books.
Oh, possibly.
Good idea.
Yes.
Yep.
So like if you were to Google the like Netflix three body problem, you'll notice like the cast of characters, and I'm just like, I don't like, what are these names? So
Well, and they probably adapted it for television. They might
yeah,
have.
so I'm
They
thinking
might have
like
added characters.
what they might have added characters, changed
I agree.
names, but so I was
It's
like,
worth a shot.
yeah, yeah.
Yep.
Ain't gonna kill me to watch
And
it.
Netflix typically Americanizes things to some degree, so I'm curious to see what adaptations they make for this.
Yeah. To make it more like, I get that this book isn't like an easy read or the most palatable for everyone. So Netflix is going to try to make it,
Yeah, successful.
yes.
There's also
exactly.
like political aspects to it that
Yeah.
modern day China might not want portrayed. So, they could. This happens all the time where they go like, if you're, or at least like, if it airs in China, they cut a lot of stuff out. Like media is very different there. So, it's interesting.
But this book has won a lot of awards in China, so I'm interested to see
That's true.
how that plays out. Any
Can't
closing
wait.
thoughts on the book?
Read it.
I think it's fantastic.
I think it's a great book. Obviously, it does have a lot of brutal violence in it. It's very central to the storytelling of the characters. It does have some scientific-y jargon, but like it is handled very nicely. I definitely enjoyed it.
I don't know why I passed on it for so long because
I
it
never
seemed
heard of it.
intimidating, but it definitely worth the read. And especially coming from somebody, my mom recommended it, so it's coming from her wheelhouse is more like thriller, murder, mystery kind of thing. Like she loves Bosch.
Oh shit.
She she loves her some Bosch. So
don't
that's
know who
her
that is.
wheelhouse. So she's actually suggested some of the best sci-fi books I've ever read. Which
Really?
yeah, she suggested Feed. She suggested The Martian before The Martian was a movie. She also suggested The Hunger Games before The Hunger Games set off. The woman has a knack for picking
Winners.
really good, yeah, for picking winners, and I don't know where she gets it because she doesn't read them. She's just like, this sounds interesting, you should read it. Sounds like something you would like.
Banger detector.
Yeah, she is. I don't know where she gets it, but she picks winners, you guys.
Thanks everybody for being here. This was really awesome. I'm glad folks got to read it. I'm sorry if more people couldn't be on the stream tonight. I know he wasn't feeling well. Telos had a last minute emergency. So it ended up being a small crew, but I really enjoyed the discussion with y'all.
Yeah, me too. It's always interesting because it's like, I know the three of us have very similar thoughts, but I also know that sometimes like Aaron will come up with like a really interesting take, and I'm just like, oh, I like never would have thought about it in that way. And so it's really great to hear people reading the same thing but getting different reactions out of it and making me think like, what, you can think about this in more than one way?
Yeah, it's nice talking to people about it because I feel the same way about you guys. Book club's fun, yay.
Yeah, I like reading books.
Yeah, if you're hanging out, watching, and you're not in our Discord, you want to check out some of these books, please join the Discord, exclamation Discord in chat. Book club is open to everybody. You don't have to be on stream to enjoy book club. You can read books and talk in our Discord about it. Maybe get in there.
Let me
Get in there, KB. We're gonna end stream now.
How insane was that book? The concept and theories presented could be an entire new episode. I was hoping there would be a prologue of some sort to bring things full circle, but I'll have to read the next 2 books. Some of us have also started watching the show on Netflix that came out last week. Lots of changes, but 2 episodes in and we're still interested. I hope you enjoyed episode 6 with us, and we'll be back in March with Ender's Game by Orson Scott Card, chosen and hosted by Kiki.